all, my name is Pamela Rosario and I am the managing attorney at Pamela Rosario Law. I am so honored and excited to be part of the second annual Trademark That Thursdays virtual summit hosted by the Nina R. Spear Law Firm. This is a free CLE, free y'all, where you will hear from over 10 IP attorneys going over everything you need to know to run a successful IP practice. My talk specifically will be talking about finding your voice as an attorney and building a firm culture that you love. So here are the top 5 reasons why you should be at the Trademark That Thursday Summit this week. Number 1, you will get an inside look at insights from our industry and from really some of the best in the business. Number 2, networking. It is not really often that we all get together for a free event where we are able to chat and exchange info and hear each other's stories. So this would be a great opportunity for that. Number 3, MCLE credit. That's huge and it's free. We all need it and they'll give you a chance to get some legal training or a refresher on any concepts you've already learned. Number 4, like I said, networking. It's a huge plus and you'll have the opportunity to set up one-on-one meetings with some other IP lawyers. And number 5, last but not least, me. Like I mentioned, my workshop will be discussing finding your voice as an attorney, and we'll be going over legal reputation, how we can move away from it, I think, and really creating a culture that you are really proud of and that speaks and rings true to you. So Trademark That Thursday's virtual summit will be this Friday and Saturday, April 29th and April 30th. Workshops start at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time on both days via AirMeet. See you there. Everyone. Oh no, can you hear me? Hi everyone. Can y'all hear me? Okay, great. Okay, so great, thank you. Trying to find my voice at 57. We're gonna talk about that too. Let me just start. I'm gonna share my presentation window, this one, okay. Did that work? Sweet. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Pamela Rosario. Thank you so much for being here. I want to quickly thank Nina and her law firm and her entire team for having me and for hosting this amazing 2-day event for attorneys. It's really a great cause, and just thank you. So this is finding your voice and your firm's culture. I changed it up a little bit because I felt like this was more all-encompassing, but I fully acknowledge that this topic may come off a little woo-woo, but that's okay. I'm a little woo-woo. I promise you that it is imperative to your firm's success that you figure out your voice as an attorney, as a business owner, which will help inform your firm's culture. So it is all connected. We are going to get into some good stuff, and above all, some woo-woo, but some practical tips and information. So a little bit about me. I am from the Bronx, New York, so I'm licensed in New York State. And if you know anybody from the Bronx, you know they're going to tell you they're from the Bronx within 5 minutes of meeting them. And they will always capitalize that T and that B. So that's where we are. I've been practicing law for over a decade. However, I launched my own firm about 1.5 years ago, really in large part after seeing all of the amazing attorneys that you've heard or will be hearing from today and tomorrow, and then realizing that it was possible. That's why, again, I think an event like this is so important. It really gives you an inside look at what is possible and what is attainable for your firm. My uncle's from the Bronx, yes. We are very proud of where we're from. So yes, my background, I worked in big law for 8 years, and you probably won't be surprised to learn that I hated it.
2020 came around and I really started to look at my career and I just wanted to do more. Um, I started my own law firm while I was doing both just to see if it was viable. And here we are. So, a lot of my experience in the corporate world is really what led me or leads me currently to think about our voices as attorneys and our reputation and, what it all means. So here is a rundown of what we'll be talking about today. Our reputation, like I mentioned, as a legal profession, and some of the stereotypes, your firm's culture and why it is important, communicating with clients, client communication, and then finally finding that voice that we're talking about and tips on how to do that. So, like I mentioned, one of the reasons that I'm really kind of obsessed with this topic is I come from a little bit of a big law background, and as we know, it is hella stuffy up in there. So when I started my firm, I would get on consultations with clients and I would notice this like hesitation and extreme formality from them, which is nice because it means that they respect you. But it also gave the calls this undertone of like uneasiness and again, hesitancy. So we get on the call and it'd be very much like, hello, Mrs. Rosario, I'm very serious. And as we got through the call, as they saw more of my personality and I'm making jokes because that's what I do, they began to loosen up and I saw those walls coming down. And not only that, they asked more questions. They became more engaged. Um, in what I was saying, they even gained a level of understanding of some of the legal concepts that we were talking about. Oh, that's how a copyright is different than a trademark. I probably do need both. Let's do it. And so, in almost every occasion, they would want to work with me, and I did the numbers, and I have a really high conversion rate. And I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that to show you the power of like really using your authentic voice and who you are. I truly believe that that happens because of the way that clients or potential clients come leaving out of consultations and talks. I kind of reverse engineered and I was like, how is this working? So I looked at my testimonials, and I asked clients, and what I zoned in was on the feedback that came up the most. She explained things in a way that I understood. She made me feel like I could ask anything, that no question was a dumb question. I felt heard. She made me feel comfortable. So, as much as it is about finding your voice, it's about finding it and then using it to attract the clients that you want. And that's kind of what we will get into today. So, how did we get here? Um, how many of you think that lawyers have a good reputation? You guys can put it in the chat. I'll keep going, but I don't think that we do. And I'm sure that many of you will agree with me. So, how did we even get here? And honestly, my answer is I'm not sure. Somewhere back in the day, whether it was movies or television, we've created or we've had a reputation about being cold and stuffy and condescending, you name it. So we're in a space where serious equals intelligent and stuffy equals confident. So I think that throughout history, lawyers, some of them have kind of liked it, in big law firms, of course, corporations, because it gives the persona of being tough and being no nonsense. And while all of that can be true, we can be tough negotiators, we can be zealous advocates for our clients. It doesn't have to come at the cost of our approachability and at our connection. So, intelligence, confidence, ambitions, all of that stuff can exist in a world where you're also approachable, I think. And you can speak clearly to clients and have them understand and really garner that respect from them. So it's not one or the other. And I think that we're now in a space where it kind of, is that way. So with this reputation that we have, what has it kind of done and what will it continue to do if we don't change it? I think that overall it can make it very difficult to get clients because we're kind of always fighting against this reputation on calls when we speak to people. So, in today's world, the world is on fire. People are tired. They're tired of being lied to, of big corporations taking advantage, all of that stuff. They want, and by they I mean our clients want straight talk. They want to work with people that they can trust. And the way that you build that trust is by building these connections. So if we continue down this road, it's just going to be an uphill battle for us to get these clients. And then on the other side, where I think this, where this affects us is with opposing counsel or with other attorneys. We touched about on this a little bit in earlier presentations today, but sometimes there's no collaboration with attorneys. I know, and you all know, that we're in charge of representing our clients. However, each interaction with another attorney doesn't really have to be contentious. I'm of the belief that you get more flies with honey. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to fight, hard for my clients, but I don't really see the benefit of coming out the gate with animosity just because it's another attorney. And just because you want to make sure that they know that you're about your business. Like, they can know all of those things without animosity or any kind of contentious attitude. So I think that's what's really affecting us right now, and it will continue to do so if we don't get it together. So what can we do about all of this? Fortunately, I think that we are slowly moving away from all of these old ideals. I do think that we still have a lot of work to do, but by being really intentional in our firm culture, in our communication with clients, in how we portray ourselves to the world, I think that's really how we're going to get there. And as all of you, I'm sure, are, I think that there is this new wave of attorneys that are very focused, laser focused on moving away from those stereotypes and just showing up as our authentic selves as part of our firms, online with our clients, of course. And I think that's really what opening up your own law firm can be about. It is our opportunity to create a culture and an environment that we want to be a part of, that other people want to be a part of when they're coming onto our team, and that our clients want to work with. And it also shows law students and younger attorneys that it is possible. I'm kind of tired of the rumor that all lawyers hate their jobs and all lawyers are miserable. Some are, for sure. I was one of them. But we're really working hard again to move away from these antiquated ideas, just by being who we are. So firm culture, I think that's really where we begin to make some change. Firm culture, extremely important, because even though it's kind of like this abstract concept, it really informs how you hire, how you fire or let go, how you market your firm, how you spend your business money, how you show up on social media, emails. Your firm culture is kind of like your brand kit. So incredibly important. Think of your culture as your brand, because it is. What do you want to stand for as a law firm owner and as a business owner in general? Just as we talk to our clients about the appropriate legal foundations and getting their businesses on track, their trademarks, their copyrights, their contracts, their LLCs, our firm's culture is that foundation that we're looking for, that we need to work on in the beginning and continuously. And we'll talk about that later, continuously finding your voice, and kind of fine tuning that foundation. So how do you do that? How do you work on your culture? For me, I always kind of do a lot of introspection. Think of where you would like to work. Think of the bosses that you'd like to be or you'd like to have. Think of a service provider. How do you want to be treated when you are getting a service? How do you want to feel if you're a client? What are some of the important things to you when hiring someone, or if you were to be hired? Client communication, which we will get into, but what's the tone that you want to give off? How do you want to speak to clients? Is it very formal? Is it less formal? Even things like the frequency of your communication with clients sets, firm culture. Do you want to be all up in their inbox, all the time? Do you want to space it out a little bit more? Your marketing materials, all of that, the overall language that you use to represent your firm is your culture from top to bottom. So one thing to keep in mind with your firm culture is that not only does it have to be created, it has to be organized, and you have to have it to a point where it can be explained and taught, right? To your employees, to your VAs, to whomever is going to be on your team so that there is consistency. You don't want to have an idea of what your firm looks like. You don't want to have a firm culture that you worked really hard on creating and then have a paralegal that doesn't exemplify that at all, because then what's the point? Everything from your social media manager, people who create the content for you, if you have that, whatever it is, you all have to be on the same page. Again, think of a brand kit. The colors have to be the same, the tone, the font, it all has to be consistent so that what you're putting out to the world, people understand it and they identify that with you. And then lastly, what are the benefits? I think we've talked a little bit about that, but undoubtedly, and Nina actually touched upon this in this morning's meditation, when you are yourself, when you are authentic, and it may not happen overnight, but you will find your people. And by your people, I mean your team, your clients, certainly, those people will come. They are going to be attracted to what you're saying, how you're saying it, because they vibe with you. Like your values are aligned. So that is invaluable. I think that as attorneys, we sometimes underestimate working with clients that we want to work with. And I know that that sounds like a simple concept, like, duh, I want to work with people that I want to work with. But we should get to the point where just as our clients are evaluating us to see if they can work with us, we too should be looking at our clients in the same way. Do they fit our firm's culture? And if they don't, that's something that we have to think about. And if they do, fantastic. That means that we are doing a good job at portraying our culture and kind of exemplifying it, where possible, right? Because we got bills to pay. So we can't just be turning away everyone we don't like. But eventually you can get to this point. And I think that it's just really, really important that you like your clientele and the clientele that's coming across your door. I know that when I've taken on clients that don't particularly align with me and my culture, it's not been the greatest. So, the next step in this overall approach, we've talked about kind of internal foundations, your firm culture. Um, but let's talk about how we present externally to our clients. And one of the main things that comes up in this is in client communication is discussing, difficult legal concepts. I think the number one complaint that I've heard from clients or friends or even clients that have come to me after, speaking with another attorney or other attorneys is that sometimes they leave those conversations more confused than when they started. So, for me, a confused potential client is not going to hire you. A confused client, it's going to create a difficult working relationship and they're not going to rehire you. So, we really have to work on this. Because of this rep that we've been talking about, I think we sometimes feel like we have to appear smart or tough or whatever it is when speaking with clients, that we get so bogged down with that it makes it so that we're not effective at communicating. And again, this comes up when discussing legal concepts. So there's a saying that says, I'm going to look it up, but if you can't explain something simply, then you probably don't understand it well enough. But we know our stuff and we know that we are competent and we know that we're intelligent and we know that we can do our job. So all we have to do is articulate that to our clients in a way that they can understand. And we'll go over some tips on how to do that. But I think that on a personal level, you should use that as a challenge. Think of ways where you can break down some of the tougher legal concepts in your practice so that you can talk about them with clients. There are definitely frequently asked questions I'm sure that people ask all the time on consultations or on your social media or what have you. Think of those like main pillars or those main concepts that you talk about and really figure out a way to break them down. The simpler we break down these concepts into bite-sized portions, the easier obviously they are to digest. And, side tip, this also serves as great social media content because your conversations with clients, again, those FAQs, those are going to work for your content on social media or your blog articles, anything where you're writing out to the public. Again, breaking it down makes it easier for people to digest. One example, when I send out my opinion letters, I send it with a Loom video, just a short video going over the letter. Why? Our opinion letters, they have a lot of legalese. And, CYA purposes, we have to do that, right? We have to put in a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo to protect ourselves. But I want to CYA, but I still want my clients to understand it, right? Like I go through it and I'm like, this is what this paragraph means. I want them to know what I'm saying about a particular mark or a hit that came up. This is what I mean about, this descriptiveness issue, or this is what the search report says. Um, Whatever it is, I want them to get it while also protecting myself and my firm and giving them the appropriate legal document. But I want to add a little tidbit in there for them so that they get it. It also cuts down on calls. I'm happy to get on a call with clients, but as y'all know, sometimes clients want to get on a call all the time for everything. And if we're getting on so many calls, we can waste a lot of time. And if I can explain something in a quick Loom video that can avoid the need for an unnecessary call, I think that is the best. Obviously, if they have questions, more in-depth questions, happy to get on a call, but it's just one of my little tricks. Another way that you can discuss these tough legal concepts is making comparisons to anything that you can think of, really. I know that it might sound silly to do, but by no means are we trying to dumb anything down for clients. But the truth of the matter is that they didn't go to law school. So they are not trademark experts, copyright experts, contract experts. They legit don't know what some of these words mean and or what they mean in relation to our work. So it is our job to make it easier for them to understand. We want informed clients. We want clients that have kind of an intimate understanding of their business dealings and about what all of the things that are happening as their legal representation. Of course, it is our job to kind of, carry most of the load, but I think informed clients are the best kind of clients. Um, Another thing to keep in mind when speaking with clients is that we don't have to scare them. In order, there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't get a trademark, for example, if you don't copyright your work, if you don't have an agreement with another party, for sure, a lot of scary things. But in order to transition them from a potential client to a client, it doesn't have to be a doomsday scenario. And for those of you who are concerned with, being salesy, which I always am, this part in particular is for you. Instead of kind of pressure or thinking that we have to try to pressure or scare our clients, all we need to do is show them the value of our work and our services and what we bring to their lives, how we solve their problems, how we can help grow their business. All of that speaks for itself without any kind of scare tactic. So we can articulate value without scaring. We can articulate value while still explaining tough legal concepts. Again, it's not one or the other. By articulating our value, we do our job, right? They get it. I think again, it's a really important thing to keep in mind in today's world. Like I said, people are tired. They can see through the BS and kind of like sales tactics. Clients want straight talk. They want to know how much your services are, what's it going to cost them, whether they can afford that or not at this moment, and what value you are bringing. So we bring the value in our services without talking down to clients and being upfront and honest with them about what we're bringing to their lives, essentially. And so lastly, in communicating with clients, we talked about discussing concepts with them, articulating our value. Because of this rep that we've talked about, it's created a situation where we have to bridge the gap between ourselves and our clients. I feel like sometimes, lawyers in society are seen like up here and everyone else is down there. And I think that there's a difference between respect and from all of the work that we've done to get here and all the schooling and all the loans we got to pay. There's a difference between respect and like just being in like a hierarchy that I don't think is necessary. I think one of the ways we bridge that gap and bring it together is by relating to our clients more. Most of us, if we're IP lawyers, we have a lot in common with our clients. We either are our clients or we're a former version of our clients because we're business owners. We are running firms, running businesses. We are entrepreneurs. And a lot of our clients are entrepreneurs, starting new businesses, or even if they've been in business for, a couple years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. We're all going or have gone through similar steps and journeys. So if you keep that in mind as you are on calls with them, when you're listening to their struggles, I think that'll be really, really helpful because we're in the same boat. Yes, we know more on the legal side about that, but going through the same struggles, finding a team, building our culture, accounting, all of that stuff, social media. It's about making that genuine connection so that they feel understood and more comfortable because they are understood. You get it. You've been in their shoes. So genuine is the key word. I'm not saying fake the funk. We're just literally in the same spot or have been in some instances. And I think that that's where you can really foster that connection. And connection is what, will bring down those walls and bridge the gap. So finally, the voice that I keep mentioning. Here are some tips on how to find it, with the big, big caveat that it is a truly personal process. So it's going to take a lot of introspection and a lot of work on your part internally to find this voice. Completely possible. It's just that everyone's journey is going to be different. These are just some broad tips that I could think of that helped me in finding my voice. I think that if we let go of what we think a lawyer should look like, sound like, dress like, be like, blah, 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 the sooner that we let go of that, the sooner we accept that all of these rules, they're made up or they were created so long ago that they don't even matter or they don't make sense anymore. So the sooner we do that, the better off we will be as a profession. You and you alone really should be responsible for creating the rules of your firm, and what you want your culture to look like, not what society says a lawyer should be like. I saw in, not to shout her out, but I'm not going to say her name, in a Facebook group the other day, someone was really upset about her clients and people in general not addressing her by Miss or Mrs. when first meeting her. To me, that's antiquated, right? I don't want to be called Miss Rosario. I don't want my clients to do that. I don't want to have to call them, Mr. Whomever. To her, that's her firm culture. That's what she wants it to represent. And so it's a very personal choice and it's not a one size fits all situation. Second tip, practice conversations with non lawyers. I know that this might sound strange or silly, but for those of us who find it difficult to explain these legal concepts in a simple way, I think it can be very helpful. Again, we went to law school. Maybe there really is just one way we know how to explain things because that's how we learned it. Let's challenge ourselves to think of new ways to get this information out, to educate people. Practice with your husband, your wife, your partner, your child, whoever. These non lawyers can help you poke holes into what you're saying. It's very hard. It can be very hard to just talk to lawyers all day. Peers and mentors are fantastic, but our clients are typically not at our peer level, even if they are a big company. They specialize in what they specialize in, and law isn't it, or else they'd be doing this themselves. So others outside of the profession can really offer feedback that's very, very helpful. Oh, I didn't understand, what descriptiveness meant when you said it like that, or when you said it in relation to something. essentially what they're doing is fine tuning our language so that we learn how to like break it down further without the need to use a bunch of legalese. Lastly, niching down. I know that we generally talk about this for marketing and obviously super important for that. But niching down can really help in finding your voice, I think, because as you create this niche, this community of clients that you're targeting, that you're speaking to, your voice, reflects that. You then become surrounded by your people. And it's just so much easier to communicate with those that you align with. So, creating this niche for your firm and for yourself, I think will really help with that. Again, fine tuning this voice that we're creating that we're super proud of. Um, a final note, we talked a little bit about it in the chat. Someone mentioned it in the chat when we started. It's never too late to to find this voice. Your voice as a lawyer and as a business owner, it's going to change over time, and go through many iterations. We are constantly evolving as human beings. So, what you want your firm to look like this year may not be what you want it to look like in 5 years or 10 years. So, constantly reevaluating this voice, this culture, in the same way that we reevaluate marketing or our ideal client or even our niche. Super, super important. It's going to change over time, and that is okay because we are different people now than we were 5 years ago, and we will be different people in another 5 years. And so, if we want our firm to reflect that, that's okay. And really, I think that that's what can help. We talk about diversity in the IP field and in the legal field in general. I feel like that's how we increase diversity in the field by showing younger attorneys and law students that we can be here, we can be ourselves, and we can be successful. So, all of those things is how I think that we're, finally ready to change the face of this profession. Oh, that was fast. That's all I got. Thank you all for having me. I really, really hope that this was helpful to you all. And let's have some Q&A if anybody has any questions. Let me turn this off. Does that work? Okay. Niching down is super important. Yes. Yes, yes. So Vivian said, how far down in the niche should you go? Just trademark, just copyright, or some other things need to be narrow? I think so. Niching, it's more about your ideal client, not really in your service area. At least for me, or what I was referring to. Um, what clients do you want to talk to? Do you want to just work on, businesses in the beauty space? Do you want to do like fashion law stuff, which can encompass trademarks, copyrights, and all of that stuff? For me, niching really has to do with, again, that voice that you're putting out. Who are you talking to? Who is your ideal client? That will inform your voice, your marketing materials, which will help create this firm culture that you're talking about. So that's really what I was talking about with niching, and try different things, right? Maybe you're like, oh, I think this would be cool. And I try it. And then you're like, oh, I'm not really, I don't really like it. That's fine. I think you should try a few different things before you really hone down on something, but go with what you like doing. Go with the people that you like serving. If you like working in the music industry, obviously that's a whole different niche with a whole set of ideal clients. But I didn't. Yeah. A practice area is not a niche, but identifying what services we offer to which demographic or type of clients really helps us know what our clients struggle with. Exactly. You get to then identify what are the struggles with your clients? What do they need help with? What are things that typically come up in their industry that they're going to need your assistance with? And then how do you tailor your marketing to that? What are their pain points? What are some objections that they have? Things like that. Okay. Yeah, no problem. How do I do that? Nina said to put her on stage. Does anyone know how to do that? Oh, not me. Okay, never mind.
Girl, you hit the nail on the head for so many different
Oh,
parts.
good.
This elitism culture must die so we can
Yes,
live. Literally enjoy it. I
right.
think we have another question from Vivian, so I'm going to come off so you can answer it. But I just wanted to make sure I was there to ask some more questions that we have from the people who registered. They have lots of questions that I need to try to get to from the registered people.
Okay. All right. When identifying these issues, what would be your core questions to get you to your niche? That's a good question. Let's see. What I do, for example, if I'm working with a client to draft a contract for them, my first step after, we get on a consultation, I get on a call with them and it's kind of like a brain dump. Tell me everything that's gone wrong, in your engagements before we started drafting this contract. Like, what are things that you went through that you're like, oh, I wish I had a contract? So think of it that way, kind of like reverse engineer. Think, ask them, what are your pain points? What has happened in the past that made you think, I wish I had a trademark, I wish I had a contract to protect me? And then you work your way backwards to address those issues, or in the example that I gave, reflect that in the agreement. Like if I had a client that was constantly having clients pay late or not paying at all, then I'm going to make sure that the payment section or payment penalty section is really tight. So that's just a simple example, but I really like to hear from them past experiences that have not gone so well. Um, and then you, again, reverse engineer and then just tailor your marketing materials and what you talk about in that way, because then you know what their pain points are, the things that are constantly coming up for them, and so you can kind of tune your voice to that when speaking to them.
Awesome. So you talked about it during your talk, a opinion letter. Now, I have some people who register for the conference that doesn't know what an opinion letter is, and we are very frequent in that lack of knowledge. So can you please talk to that point? Because I know there's some people who really want to learn about opinion letters because they want to write them, but literally they
Right.
know how to do it for their client. So some tips.
Yes, totally. Sorry about that. So, I think a lot of trademark attorneys do this. I know I learned from my mentor, Sonia Lakhani. Essentially, your opinion letter is what the trademark attorney gives the client after they run the comprehensive search. So, you run the comprehensive search, however you do it, either using a software or if you do it manually in tests. Um, let's say you're looking at the search report, you're picking out what hits you think might be an issue for your client, and so the opinion letter is you giving your opinion to your client as to the risk of the mark. So it's either a low risk mark, a moderately risk mark, or high risk. Low risk meaning you probably didn't find that many things that would be an issue. If the client is okay with it, you can likely move forward to the application stage. High risk mark, different topic. Maybe there's a whole host of issues. Maybe there are a bunch of marks that you found that are similar sounding or are the same as the client's mark. And so it's really your chance to give the client a opinion as to the risk of moving forward with the mark. Now, the reason why I say there's a bunch of CYA language in there is because you want to make sure that, particularly for really all marks, but high risk marks as well, that the client knows the risk of moving forward. Some clients are just like, no, I want to move forward. And, you have to explain to them what would happen if you move forward with a high risk mark and, you get an office action. Or if you move forward with a low risk mark and the examining attorney at some point finds something that you didn't find in your search. That's a possibility, right? These searches are not going to be 100% ironclad. And so you want to explain all of that to your client in the letter as well. But CYA, as we know, comes with a lot of like legalese. So you want to have that in your letter. And what I do with my Loom video is I just make sure that I kind of just go through it in plain English and let them know, like, this is what this means. This is a high risk mark, super risky. Don't come for me after. Just kidding.
I mean, kidding, not kidding, but
Yeah.
really, like, if I put
Really?
it in the opinion letter and you choose to file anyways, it's on you. You're paying my office action fee.
Right, right.
Speaking of, can you talk about navigating that conversation? Because that doesn't sound very friendly to clients either. And telling them that they're going to have to pay more later sometimes makes you seem like you're not confident in them. And how can you make that fluid so that they don't have that experience? Because that is a hard thing to communicate. And I tell my clients, like, look, we can file. I will fight for you. But so what do you say to kind of make that go over a lot smoother?
So I've been debating this. Like I know a lot of attorneys have these like big packages where it's at a little bit of a higher rate, but they include non-substance or substantive office actions of what as well. I'm not there yet. But when having this conversation, Nina, to your point, I tell them, I will try my hardest, right? Like I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to do everything I can, but it is literally out of our hands, right? And I try to give some examples like, in all actuality, I also say, there are low risk marks that we've applied for that I've been unsuccessful with. And there have been high risk marks that I thought were absolutely going to get an office action and they don't. But that goes to show that we really are at the mercy of these examining attorneys who do a great job, but there's so many of them that there's not really a lot of consistency in their rulings and in their opinions and their office action. So I try to hone in on that so that they really understand that there's a lot that we can do in the beginning, right? Comprehensive search is super important, but it's only going to get us so far. When it goes out into the USPTO world, it really depends on that examining attorney, and it is literally out of my hands. So understanding all of that, are you still okay moving forward? I also, depending on the client, I should probably be more consistent with this, but I make them sign something again that they understand the risks of moving forward. They are okay if this doesn't turn out the way that they want. I'm going to fight for them, but there's only so much we can do. And because office actions can be really complex and there are on substantive issues, that's just going to come at another fee. It's outside of the scope of what we've just discussed, and because it's not a guarantee, we've kind of left it on the side there, but it will come with another fee, and making sure that they understand and perhaps sign to that as well.
That is really good because if people don't maneuver that part, I think very effectively, even after the opinion letter, I think we run into a lot of issues with our clients later on. Like, well,
Yeah.
you didn't tell me.
Hmm.
So I know that you've encountered these types of clients because I get this in the inbox all the time. People who compare you to,
I
let's say,
know.
legal, you know what I'm going to
I
say
already know.
from
I already know.
legal Zoom. Like, oh my gosh, like, come on. Like, why? I had a client, I think, say, and I literally explained to him, I was like, trust me, you would have gotten charged $10,000. You got charged half of that for what
Yeah.
I did. So please appreciate the discount we gave.
Right.
And that's kind of how I maneuvered that. But it was a big client, it was a $5,000 client, and they wanted LegalZoom pricing. So how do you maneuver that as an attorney and with your ego and not let your ego affect you to the point where you catch an attitude with your client?
Yeah.
Because that is
Um,
so easy.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you said that because I'm typically very even keeled and I don't really let a lot of things bother me. But that did happen to me recently. They weren't comparing to LegalZoom, but I guess they had an consultation with another attorney and they were kind of like, well, this person is offering like significantly discounted work and you are offering this. Like, why should I go with you? And for a second, I was really taken aback. I was just, honestly, I wanted to be like, well, go with them then. But we cannot do that with clients, right? So this goes back to the conversation about articulating your value. I said in a very professional way, this is my price and it is not, these are my fees, they're not changing. This is the value that I feel like I'm bringing either through my experience or, whatever it is. Articulating that value and repeating that to them is all that you can do, right? If they don't want to go with you, if they're just looking for the less expensive option, they're not going to go with you anyway. So all you can do is continue to articulate your value and don't feel like you need to lower that rate just to get the client because it's not worth it. That client is not for you and will oftentimes be more of a headache than he or she is worth. Legal doom. That's right. You are worth your prices, right? Because of our experience, because of our legal training, LegalZoom doesn't have anything that we have. And if there's some like non-lawyer out there or another company filing trademarks, they can't do what we do. And sometimes I even use examples. Like, I don't know if we all know that example of LegalZoom, and it was a TikToker that she applied for a trademark that I think it was like Pokey Princess, and Nintendo came in swiftly and got her right together. She did it with LegalZoom. If that simple, catch is something that LegalZoom can't do, she got, for real sued. That's an easy example of something that LegalZoom doesn't catch because they are a document preparation company. They are just pushing trademarks through their mill, and not really doing the analysis that we as lawyers would do.
Whew. I use her as an example of what
Yeah.
not to do all
Me
the
too.
time.
Yeah.
Like Pokemon, come on, girl.
Come
Like,
on.
y'all know them. They make so much money off of those cards still to this day.
Yes.
People
Yes.
are still going through a childhood with Pokemon. Like, they got
Yep.
Pokemon Go, the app. You can't do it.
Yep.
But the goal of this conversation is to kind of segue us into like doing this in a non-traditional law place. Like, a lot of people were always gonna be a lawyer in an office. That was the vision, that was the plan.
Right.
And like doing it virtually is like very uncomfortable for a lot of us. So what is that like for you? Like, how are you experiencing that as a good thing, and what are the the downsides of it? Because I don't think we are really given the full picture. And you took Sonia's course, I took Dana Thomas Law's course, but like everyone's taken something to kind of get them right. But what's been your experience, the goods and the bads? Because people need balance.
Yeah, yeah. Great question. Overall for me, it's been great. I'm someone who I'm not one of those people that are like, I don't like working from home. I really love working from home. I think it offers me a lot of flexibility as a mom and just as a human being, being able to do other things. And so it was great. And really, it allowed me to start and launch this law firm while I had this other job. So being virtual was great. However, to your point, Nina, there was a point where I, I got to a point where I was thinking like, wow, I've never met any of my clients. That's weird. So, you know, it kind of puts the onus or like the pressure on you to be able to create community with your clients, if that makes sense. That's something that's really important to me. Like, I want to get to know my clients, and kind of that's what we talk about with firm culture and client communication. It can be very easy to be cold and to be, with all of our automations and all of that stuff, to appear very robotic to our clients. And so that's one of the challenges, is making sure that in creating this firm culture, your clients feel a part of it. This virtual world, doesn't get the best of us. But it is hard because, especially as IP attorneys, we can work with clients all over the country. And so I can't just meet up with a client to have coffee or have a meeting all the time if I wanted to, because we just don't live near each other. So overall, really good for me. I think that people need to lean into the flexibility of it. And I could go on vacation with my family and still work and not really have to take the days off. I mean, you shouldn't work on vacation, but if I absolutely had to, I could do that because of this virtual culture that we've created. So really flexible. I think there are more benefits than disadvantages, but there are, that connection, tech issues, not appearing cold, our automation. Sometimes we have to make sure that the messages that are going out sound like you. I worked with a systems person that set up my Dubsado, and she was amazing. But she had like, templates that she used, and I had to go through the emails to make sure that they sounded like me. They were great, but some of them didn't sound like me. I want to sound like myself, even in my automated processes when I'm communicating with clients and with anyone else in the outside world.
I like it. And of course, we're going to probably have a lot of questions. I think I see a couple more in there. One from Vivian's on fire with the questions today. But I wanted to ask a question before we got there, which was this having too few leads, basically too few people calling. And I had that, issue when I first started, and I honestly changed it with making social media content and trademarked that Thursdays was the social media content that I made. But that was one of the common complaints for people. They're like, I can't get leads. I can't get leads. And, it's people always trying to sell us leads. And I'm like, look, man, I got too many leads. I don't need
Right.
them anymore. And
Right.
I literally refer out now. I can't do it. And how did you deal
Wow,
with that
lovely.
part?
So just like you said, I think it's two things. One, get going out there. Like Nina, you talked about it again earlier today in that meditation, which was fantastic. There are going to be times where you're posting and posting and posting, and nobody is going to be crickets, right? You're going to be like, dang, nobody liked that, or like, a couple people liked it. But you have to, that's the name of the game with these algorithms and all this stuff, is you have to continue to put yourself out there and people will find you. So one is being consistent and constantly putting out there. And it doesn't have to be like social media, right? Posting on Instagram. Pick the one that you like. Do you like being on camera all the time? Then do lives every week. Do you like just giving out information? I find that carousels do really well on my page. So people are just reading stuff, do that. Maybe you're a LinkedIn person. Maybe that's where you get a lot of your referrals from other businesses, TikTok, whatever it is. Don't think that you have to do what everybody else is doing or that you have to do all of them, because that's what's going to lead to burnout. But getting your information out there in a way that you feel comfortable, because if you feel comfortable, again, you're going to come off more authentic and it's just going to like ooze out of you. And then people will see that. So being consistent with like pushing out your stuff helps. And I think too, making it easy for people to book with you. I think in the beginning, I was constantly getting DMs like, how do I book a consultation? And I'm like, it's right there. But it was obviously not clear enough. I was doing something that wasn't making it clear for them. So you have to make it really easy. Click the link in my bio and then click book consultation, or have a book consultation link on your website. Like make it really easy for people to book with you. People have a really short attention span these days. And if it takes too many clicks, they're not going to do it. So push out content however you want it to be: newsletters, blogs, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever you feel is best for you to get your message out there. And then make it easy for people to book. Make it automated. Calendly is amazing and it's free. If you have automations in Dubsado, you can integrate that into your website like I have. So just make it easy for people to do that. I love that affirmations. I get so many leads. You know what? With the high conversion rate, like I said, I reverse engineered it and I was kind of trying to figure out like, you know, how that happened. Again, not to toot my own horn, but I also underestimated the importance that people place on working with attorneys that look like them. So, we are here for a reason and we have a very loud voice. We may be, I don't know if we're still 1.8% of IP lawyers, Nina, but it's a small percentage. So, our clients, I'm not saying you have to only target, people of color, but our clients want to see lawyers in positions that look like them. And I think I really underestimated that when I started working. People really, really love it. Like they're like, I have clients that have told me like, I'm so proud of you, like, as a woman of color and all this stuff. And that's amazing to me. I'm about to tear up. Like, it's really great to hear that. And people are looking for people that look like them because they feel like they can trust us, right? We come from the same place, we speak the same way. That's why tone and voice is so important. It really does bring in your people. And like I said, it might not feel that way in the beginning, but if you are just consistent, as Nina said, and pushing it out there, those people are going to come.
All right, I finally figured out how to get Vivian's back on the stage. It was at the
Okay.
bottom, but I couldn't click show on the stage after it gets past 4 questions. So I was like, okay, whatever. But what resources would you recommend for the automations? And that's probably the last question we have time for before you close out. So, what
Yes.
resources would you recommend for automations? That's my language right there. I love automation. We'll talk about that soon, y'all.
So I was really scared. When you're first starting your firm, you have to be very careful about what you spend money on, right? Because money is tight and you have to prioritize what you need. And so I would get into Dubsado and I would try to figure it out myself. And it was a hot mess, y'all. It just, my brain doesn't work like that. Like I can tinker with my website, I can do social media, but like Dubsado, not for me. So I had to just like, you know, bring my ego down and stop being cheap and be like, I need to hire a subject matter expert. Just like we want our clients not to DIY their trademark applications, not to get contracts off of Google. We want them to go to subject matter experts because there's a value in that. I needed to tell myself. And so I hired someone. I can share her information. Her name is Crystal Clark Creative. She was worked with a lot of attorneys and she is a systems operator. It would have taken me honestly months and months and months, and I probably would have done it wrong. So there's a saying in Spanish, "Lo barato sale caro." It basically means that by going the cheap way, it's going to end up costing you more in the end. And I know that we say that to our trademark clients a lot of the times, but that should go into what we're doing with our firm, right? No, we don't have unlimited funds in the beginning, but like, set aside some money, set a budget, set a savings plan for these things because Crystal and her automations in my Dubsado have really changed my firm and it's given me more time. Time is what we all want, right? Out of this practice and out of the profession. Yes, Takora used Crystal too. I think that's where I found her. I was like, oh, if Takora used her, I'm gonna use her.
Look, look, you use who the big dogs use. Use who the big dogs use. I've been resisting Dosado for a while, and then I brought on a virtual assistant, and she used Dosado, and I got to see
Yes.
her system as a client, and it was so simple. And I was like, gosh,
Yeah.
because
Honestly, there are people
Clio
on
doesn't,
Fiverr
yeah, Clio
or
doesn't look
on
very
Upwork.
nice. Clio doesn't look very
Mm,
nice for my client. I tried their portal for a while. It
yeah.
doesn't work.
There are Fiverr people that will do small projects for you, people on Upwork that will do if you need to do it like in piecemeal. And honestly, Crystal also just changed all her offerings. So she does it in much smaller chunks at
Girl.
a more affordable price. So I 100% recommend her. And it's guys, it saved me so much time. I used to be here like sending engagement letters and like doing all this stuff. And now it just like flows and time is invaluable. And that's what, we all want.
Girl, that's my virtual assistant and I are working on that project next month. Everything will be standardized in May. So
Yes.
you are
You're
literally
you're gonna
speaking my
love it.
language.
You're gonna love it.
So I always try to end this out with some words of encouragement or a challenge you would give to the people listening to you based off of what you said today and what you think they need to hear. Just give them that challenge again. And I love what you said about, your family, about, cheaper always ends up costing you more. It's a great tagline. And just make sure you tag Pamela Rosario when you say it and say, what's up, grandma? Thank you very much. Y'all already promised you wouldn't steal their IP. I'm just putting it out there. But like at the end of the day, like it's literally that. It's really that point. Is if it's cheaper, it costs you more. But what is it that you use to kind of challenge others and keep people aware of what their goal is? And then we'll leave you guys with your CLE code because y'all know it's words and phrases because we're trying to affirm you today.
With that bop that came with it that we like. I would say if there's one key takeaway out of everything that we've talked about and this profession, and like Nina said, the elitism is always challenge yourself to think that whatever rule you're probably thinking of, it was probably made up. And it was probably made up by a man. um, and it does not serve you in this moment. So that whenever I try to think about like, oh, I shouldn't come off as this, or even when I was younger, I wouldn't wear my hair curly, like all of that stuff. Those rules are made up, and none of that is a measure of your competence, of your intelligence, of your value. That's it.
That's beautiful. I was just tearing up right now. You was literally bringing life goals. I love it. I love it. I love it. Waylene, take us out. We need the CLE code like ASAP and leave it up there for a little longer because people be listening. I feel like we just need to leave it up there. So just put it back up there again one more time before we close out. Bye, y'all. See you in my masterclass.
Bye.